Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. Today, the high price of eggs and what some households are doing about their grocery bills. More people are flocking to backyard chickens. Some go to hatcheries to get their laying stock started. And now there is Rent-A-Chicken. Skylar Rossi with Harvest Public Media joins us with more about taking a crack at their own egg supply. No pun intended. I borrowed that from you, Skylar. I hope that's okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right, welcome back. So there are folks, I guess, that in your article that these are first-timers with getting into the care and the feeding and collecting of their eggs laid at home. Tell us about some of them.
Yeah, so renting chickens definitely appeals to first timers. I talked to someone in St. Louis who's renting 4 chickens this year. And she told me she wanted to buy chickens, but she wasn't sure about things like what kind of coop to buy, what kind of food to feed them. You know, she's never done it before. There was a lot of information out there. And so she decided to rent chickens for a year to try it out. And everything came with the chickens, like the coop, the food. She liked that she had someone she could ask her questions to. And she was able to start collecting eggs right away when the chickens arrived. So when I talked to her, she had had them for just over a week, and she already got something like a dozen eggs from her backyard chickens.
Okay, so it doesn't take a lot of chickens, apparently.
No.
Okay.
4 is that company, and some others do too, but 2 to 4 seems like the normal amount for renting.
Tell us about that little company that you found in St. Louis called Four Feathered Hens. So are they equipping backyard chicken raisers, as you described?
Yeah. Yeah. So this business opened this year in St. Louis, so they're quite new. But they offer chicken rentals in that area. So if you rent from them, you get 4 hens for 6 months or a year. They build a coop for you, and they deliver that and the birds to your house. And that's for a monthly fee. So that their packages start at about $95 a month for a year-long commitment. And they offer some packages where they'll come and feed the chickens and clean the coop. So that person who's renting is pretty much just only collecting the eggs.
So are they surprised at the demand for their birds?
I don't think so. The owners, Emily and Tom Schnitzer, told me that that was the whole reason they started the business, because they saw a demand in St. Louis. They said family and friends would always ask them questions about chickens since they've had chickens for years. So no, I don't think the demand this year was very surprising to them.
So you also profiled, I love the name, Rent-A-Chicken. Tell us about that company, and do they have a typical customer?
Yeah, so Rent-A-Chicken is another chicken rental business. That one's based in Pennsylvania, and they partner with farmers in cities across the U.S. to rent chickens. And that includes Kansas City and St. Louis in Missouri. But they opened over a decade ago, so they've been doing this for a while. This year, they said there's been more demand, though, for their rental chickens. And for their customers, the co-founder, Jen Tompkins, told me it is first-timers, so people wanting to get into chickens for the first time, try it out. But it's not only that. It's also people who don't want chickens long-term, or maybe they don't want them over the winter. So they do see returning customers as well.
So talk about the sales of traditional baby chicks from hatcheries that have been around for decades. What is business like for them these days?
Yeah, so the hatcheries I spoke to are swamped with orders this year. It's been really busy. I spoke with Murray McMurray Hatchery in Webster City, Iowa, which sells chicks across the U.S. And they said they're sold out through October, which usually they're sold out more like 2 to 3 weeks in advance. So quite a big pre-sale there. And then another hatchery, Heartland Hatchery in Missouri, which sells chicks in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. They do week-by-week sales, and the owners said they've gotten so many calls this year that they had to buy a landline phone for the first time to keep up.
Wow.
So yeah, lots of demand at hatcheries for sure.
So for people who are thinking about doing this, remind us of startup costs, typically, for somebody that wants 2 chickens, 4 chickens, etc., backyard.
For sure. So for buying all the supplies you need for chickens, an agriculture educator at the University of Illinois Extension says you can expect to pay at least $500 or like around that amount easily. So that's for things like the coop, fencing to protect birds from predators. If you wanted an automatic door on the coop, That cost does vary depending on how many birds you have. If you had a bigger flock, you might need a bigger coop, things like that. But in most cases, it's really not cheaper than buying eggs at the grocery store, even with the record high prices we've been seeing lately.
Which kind of leads to my next question. Do they save money always, or do they also do it partly because it's fun and the kids like it?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like those really expensive egg prices at the grocery store are making people want their own egg supply in their backyard. But I do think fun is definitely also a part of it. The person I talked to in St. Louis who's renting chickens says her kids really love it. And it's been a fun experience for them and for her. So experience is definitely part of backyard chickens.
All right, Skylar Rossi with Harvest Public Media. You can see Skylar's reports online and on social media, as well as this conversation at KY3.com, over the KY3 News app, also on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple Plus. Skylar, as always, thanks very much. We look forward to next time, and we'll be watching for your reports.
Thank you so much for having me.
All righty, thanks again.